I'm also going to share my screen. Okay. Let me just make sure we don't have anybody left in the waiting room because we have so many people joining us today. I think we're good. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. So today we are talking about our master's in mental health counseling. Um, and Yeah, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Alyssa Yesko. I am the director of the Pathways into Education Center. Our office advises prospective and current students on all of the programs in the School of Education. So we are a wonderful place to start if you have questions, if you need help, if you need to get in contact with someone. Just a great office to start with. We are very responsive to our emails, and we can set up meetings via Zoom. We schedule a phone call. So whatever works for you, we're there to help. And we also have the director of the Masters in Mental Health Counseling program here with us, Dr. Jason Gallo. Hi, Dr. Gallo. Can you say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm the director of the Masters in Mental Health Counseling program. I serve as the main sort of information spigot for the program, and I'm willing to talk to any prospective students. And Alyssa invited me here today to be able to answer questions that come up as she goes through the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. So I'm sure that most of you have thought about this already, right? But why work in a mental health field? Just I think this is a good place to start, just to talk about some of the benefits of working in this area. Um, it's a helping profession. So many of you are here today because you want to help others. I know that that was something that was sort of like calling to me as I was thinking about my future profession. And this is one of the amazing ways that you can do that. Through this program, there's a lot of self-reflection involved, which allows you to develop your own identity as a counselor. And so being able to take your unique perspectives and your strengths and your skills and to become an effective counselor. Um, Through this profession, you help people to make healthy decisions about themselves, their relationships, their lives, their futures. And so you're making an impact. The Another wonderful thing about this field, it is currently needed. You can work wherever you want, and no matter where you're working, you can be sure that you're giving back. Each day will be different. You'll encounter new challenges, new triumphs. It's a wonderful field to be in. Our Master's in Mental Health Counseling program is accredited by the Masters in Psychology and Counseling Accreditation Council. And it is also approved by the New York State Office of Professions for preparation for licensure. It includes targeted coursework in behavioral science and counseling theory and practice, combined with practical field experiences in counseling settings. And through this program, you learn to guide others through their personal growth and employ therapeutic methods to remediate conflict. The program components, this is a 60 credit program, and it involves coursework in different areas as well as field experience components, including a pre-practicum, a practicum, and an internship. Um, Participants will also, students will also complete the mandated child abuse reported training and comprehensive exam throughout their program. And so what does this look like? This program is typically completed in 5 continuous semesters, including summers. So the first 2 summers are typically focused on the first 2 semesters are typically focused on coursework with some pre-practicum experiences. In your first spring semester, you move into your first practicum experience while also completing coursework. In the second summer semester, you begin your internship. That continues through the fall. And in those semesters, you are also finishing out your coursework. It is 12 credits each semester. It's a pretty condensed program, right? So it's a master's program that's done in just about 18 months. It's condensed, but it's manageable. And I think something that's appealing about our program is that we get you through in 18 months while still making sure that you're meeting minimally the requirements needed for licensure, but also being part of a program where the learning environment is so immersive and thorough. So even though it's a fast-paced, condensed program, it's not lacking in content. These are, I'm not going to read these to you guys because we'd be here all day, but these are just some of the courses that are required so that you can have an idea of the types of coursework that you would be participating in. There's also room for electives throughout the program, and then there's credit-bearing fieldwork experiences. A lot of this can be found on our website if you wanted to delve into this a little bit further, and if sometimes the university websites can be a little difficult to navigate. So if you ever needed help finding where this information is, I'm happy to help. Career information. So completing this program can lead to a career in a number of different settings and areas. So mental health counselors, counseling is clearly the route, but that occurs in a number of different settings. So there's substance abuse and rehab centers. There's correctional facilities working specifically with certain age groups, populations, families, career counselors working in hospitals or VA medical facilities. More recently in New York State, there has been a move to have mental health counselors in schools. So there's a lot of different places where graduates of this program can and have worked. The average salary of a licensed mental health counselor in New York State is somewhere around $73,000. That doesn't mean that that's where you would start out. That's considered the average, but most of what I found in my research had it somewhere between 60 and 90 for career long salary averages. I do always like to mention, if we have any current UAlbany students here with us today, that we do have the option for a combined bachelor's master's program for students in our human development or psychology majors. For students in these programs who are interested in this option, it allows you to waive the GRE requirement. Students would apply typically in their junior year and double count up to 12 credits of graduate coursework toward both the undergraduate and graduate degree. It allows you to save money and lighten your course load during the program. So you wouldn't complete the program any faster. But as I mentioned, in each semester, you're enrolling in 12 credits. This would allow you to enroll in some fewer credits or take some summer coursework off, depending on what coursework you get done during your senior year. And a really great option for students. You don't have to reapply when you complete your bachelor's. Once you apply in your junior year and you're accepted, you are in the master's program. So some frequently asked questions about our program. How long does the program take? As I mentioned, the program typically takes about 18 months, beginning in the summer. And students will normally graduate in December of the second year. And as I showed you guys before, it's a summer, fall, spring, summer, fall progression. A lot of times we get the question, can the program be done part-time? The way that the program is designed, it's designed to be completed full-time, and it would not be possible to be a part-time student once you get to the clinical components. I'm going to let Dr. Gallo talk a little bit more about what it might be like for somebody who needed to complete the program part-time, and also the possibility of working during the program, because these are questions that I get a lot, and I think he can answer these best.
Yeah, so sure. So the program is designed to be full-time. So if you need to go on a part-time path, it basically means you kind of split the program in half. So it would be more like a 36-month master's program. Obviously, if you broke it up even more, it would stretch out further than that. But it's not just something that can be done in a one semester extra because of the practical sequence. So we would, if someone needed to go, when people need to go part-time, they complete some of the coursework in the first 3 semesters and then start the practical sequence after that first year is done. And then move through the program that way. It's possible, but difficult to work while you're in the program. If your job has flexible scheduling, then it's more possible. But our courses are only offered once a year, and you have to attend them in sequence in order to earn the degree. And besides the first summer, most of the courses are in person often meeting during kind of business hours. So if you have a 9 to 5 job that you want to maintain full time, it would be very difficult to complete the program. But if you have a job that kind of semester by semester allows you to be flexible with scheduling, then that makes it more possible to work and earn the master's degree while you're moving along.
Thank you. And typically field experiences and internship are done during the typical workday, correct?
Correct. The field work experiences are during the typical workday, and most of those are unpaid. They're training hours, not paid internships.
Thank you.
Sure.
Um, are there any prerequisites for the program? So some master's programs leading to licensure as a mental health counselor do require that you hold a psychology major to enter the program, or that you've completed a psychology major. Ours does not. So regardless of your background, if you have the 15 required credits in psychology, you can be eligible for our program. We've had students come from many different academic backgrounds into our program who have a desire to enter this field. So we require 15 credits in psychology, including statistics, abnormal psychology, and then additional courses that are focused on personality theory and development. Something to point out is if you've already taken a statistics course through a different major in a different department, so in other words, a statistics course not in a psychology department, we will accept that statistics course. However, if you haven't taken one yet, we often recommend that you do take it in a psychology department. It provides the most context for the type of studying that you'll be doing, so it's more applicable to the content of the degree. The abnormal psychology course is another requirement. That's what the course would be called. So if you're searching for that course, it would be called abnormal psychology. Then Psych 101 also counts as one of those prerequisites toward the 15 credit hours, and it's typically a course that's required before you can take additional psychology courses. And then again, the other courses focus on personality theory and development. We recommend a GPA above a 3.0, with a higher recommended GPA of 3.5 for students interested in the combined program. Research experience is not mandatory, but can be helpful because you'll have an understanding of sort of the basis of the things that you'll be studying. How many students are admitted each year? It can vary. An average is about 25 to 30, sometimes more, sometimes fewer. For example, we have data from the 2019-2020 school year. There were 63 applicants, 40 students accepted, and 37 students enrolled. So that was a year where we went a little bit higher above the average. So it just depends on the applicant pool in a given year. Is there a connection to the PhD in counseling psychology offered through the School of Education at UAlbany? There is some overlapping coursework there. So I know some students are interested in pursuing PhD after the master's program. So, but they are two separate programs here at UAlbany. We have many master's students who go on to our PhD in counseling psychology or a PhD program at another institution, and there is ability for transfer of credits, but there isn't a direct link where we're feeding students into that program, and there's like no automatic acceptance or anything like that. Can I transfer previous graduate courses in? The answer is yes. So we offer a generous transfer policy of applicable coursework. You can transfer up to 29 credits of graduate psychology coursework that align with our program. So because our program leads to licensure, any course that you transfer in would have to be a substantial match for the course that we offer or require, with potentially a little bit more flexibility around elective courses. And this is something that you would work with your advisor, or likely Dr. Gallo, on determining once you have been accepted to the program, whether some of your previous coursework can count. In what ways can I fund my graduate studies is another very common question that we receive. I'm going to just hold on. We had a question in the chat. Yeah, so we have a student who is a senior at UAlbany in their final semester. December 15th is the only deadline for you to apply, yes, because you're applying as a student who's about to graduate. So you are a typical graduate student rather than a combined student. Also, if I miss the gap to apply at my junior year, can the GRE be waived for me? It is, so the GRE is required for any student who is not pursuing the combined route. There are not exceptions to that GRE requirement. So I hope that answers those questions. Funding graduate studies, definitely a question that I get a lot. I almost always will recommend that you reach out to financial aid for questions about that. There are university-wide scholarships, there are payment plans, there are different ways of financing and funding graduate studies, but unfortunately, that's not under the purview of my office. So I always recommend that students go through financial aid for those questions. Our graduate admissions office also has some great information on how to fund graduate studies. But I do like to highlight that the School of Education offers scholarships specific to their students. So I should sort of like clarify that even though this is a counseling program, which some students see as falling under psychology, here at UAlbany, this is a program offered in the School of Education through our Education and Counseling Psychology Department. And so School of Education specific scholarships are offered each year. They are donor based, so they wouldn't cover the entire cost of your tuition, but every little bit helps. And School of Education scholarships are a much smaller pool that you're applying against. They're not against the entire university, just students in the School of Ed. And then there are scholarships that are specific to different career paths. So there might be scholarships offered specifically to students pursuing a counseling program. And there's probably about at least 30 scholarships offered each year, and you submit one application and check off which scholarships you're eligible based on the eligibility requirements for each. So a simple way to apply and something that you can apply for each and every year that you're in the program. Oh, this is another great question. So what is the GRE and how does that work with the application? So the GRE is the graduate record exam. It is similar to an SAT, but for a graduate level program. It's an entrance exam, right? And it is a piece of your application amongst many others, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It's a way for us to sort of look at all of our applicants with regard to one aspect of their application on something that is the same across all applicants. And it's a piece of the larger whole of your application where we're considering each applicant in a very holistic way. So we're looking at your statement of goals. We're looking at your letters of recommendation. We're looking at your academic record. But the GRE is another way to assess your academic skills and capabilities. And I might have Dr. Gallo touch on that a little bit more once I get to that part in our presentation. So why our program? We focus on excellent supervision, multiculturalism, and our monitoring of in-session behaviors to enhance professional development. None of our students are ever responsible for finding their own placement for field experiences, and we offer those experiences in a range of mental health services and agencies. We have faculty in our department with a wide range of expertise in the field. So there's likely someone who shares passions and interests that are similar to your own. Because we're a research institution, some of our faculty are at the forefront of their field, right? They are the leaders in developing new knowledge and giving back to the academic community and amazing scholars and wonderful mentors. We have, as I mentioned, a very comprehensive yet accelerated curriculum and pathway that we think sort of puts us above many other programs that offer a similar type of degree. So information for applicants. We require transcripts from all schools attended, 3 letters of recommendation, the 15 credits of psychology that I mentioned, a statement of background and goals, and GRE scores. So Dr. Gallo, maybe you can talk a little bit about how the GRE scores are evaluated as part of the application.
So yeah, so the GRE scores are just one piece that we look at. When we look at applications, we look at it from a holistic standpoint. So we look at all those different pieces and then determine people that we want to interview. The GRE is a spot where we don't have a cutoff, but what it does, it provides an opportunity for someone who maybe had a lower GPA or struggled at, at a certain point in their academic background that gives them an opportunity to show that they have the aptitude to be able to handle graduate work. If you did very well in your undergrad work and have a very high GPA, that GRE score is not going to be as needle moving. As long as you do okay on the GRE, if you've done well in other places. But most applicants look at the GRE as something scary, where in fact it's an opportunity for people who maybe don't have the GPA or the academic background that we would typically accept. It gives them an opportunity to show that they do have that academic aptitude. Master's programs are harder than undergraduate programs. So the last thing we want to do is accept people that are going to struggle academically. So the GRE just offers another piece of information for us to help determine if someone can handle the rigor of the master's program.
We had a great question. Is there any one section of the exam that might be more important than others? So there's analytical writing, verbal reasoning, and quantitative reasoning.
No, none are more important than the others. It's more a general aptitude that we're looking at. So all three areas would be, looked at and weighed the same.
We have a student who is potentially coming to us from Hudson Valley Community College studying addictions counseling, and wanted to know if there was any bridge between Hudson Valley and UAlbany. So my understanding is that, so this would be a really great question for undergraduate admissions, but that we accept many or all of the credits from Hudson Valley if you were to come here and pursue an undergraduate degree in human development or psychology, which would be the two recommended majors. For one or the other, for or double major, or for the Master's in Mental Health Counseling program. So I don't know about a formalized link between those two programs, but I do know that ease of transfer is something that we pride ourselves on with our local community colleges. So I hope that answers that question. As far as our deadlines, there is one deadline, and I should mention that it's for the summer semester. So as I mentioned, the program, the first semester is in the summer. So it's a summer start program because it's a cohort-based program. So sometimes students will reach out and be like, well, what's the deadline for the spring or the fall? We have one deadline and it's for the summer, and that's December 15th. And that's for general applicants, right? We have other deadlines for our combined students, both April 1st and November 1st. And Dr. Gallo, would those be for the subsequent semesters, those two deadlines, or are they general?
Yeah, they're in general. We're honestly looking at the November 1st deadline again, and the reason being is we've hit a spot where we have very limited space in the combined program, so we're targeting that April 1st. In the past, they're kind of on record. It says juniors can apply, but the reality is we have very limited space in our classes as well. So we're really more likely to accept people that are finishing their junior year in April to begin their senior year and be combined students as seniors. Very unlikely for a junior to be accepted for earlier than that standpoint at this point, because there are limited spaces in the combined program. There's very limited space in the master's classes. So I would advise to wait till your end of your junior year and apply on April 1st. That's going to be the most likely acceptance point for students at this point. And then that would be to start the BAMS program your senior year, beginning your fall of your senior year would be the April 1st deadline would be for that.
So fall of your senior year, you can start to take some courses in the spring of your senior year, correct?
No, so you would be accepted. You would be the application process would go through into the summer. If accepted, you could begin to take some master's level courses the fall of your senior year. So both fall and spring of your senior year.
Okay, so if you're already a fall, sorry, this is just for my own information. If you're already a fall semester senior,
if you're already a fall semester senior, you can submit an application. It will be more likely that we'll ask you to be considered for our master's program to begin in the summer. And again, the reason being is there is limited spaces, and most of those spaces are already full.
Gotcha.
But it wouldn't keep you from being able to be accepted. And it's important for people to realize that at the end of the day, getting in as a combined student or the traditional master's path application is exactly the same. It does not show up any different on a transcript or anything like that. It really is the same. You're going to begin in the summer. You have to begin in the summer. We're only a summer start. And then you would have still be on an 18-month cycle to graduate in the following December if you go full time.
Thank you. Someone asked another question about the GRE. The GRE that they are studying for has a significant amount of math. Were they supposed to choose a different exam?
No, the quantitative part would be math. Think of it as similar to the SAT. You're going to have basically a verbal and a math section. So that would be it. It's the general GRE. You don't need to take the psych specific one.
Thank you. We had some more questions. In the case where someone has a good undergrad GPA, but just an average GRE score, how different would their odds be compared to someone with both a high GRE and GPA, assuming all else is equal on the application?
So I would say in that spot, really the interview is going to be the differentiator. If someone did really well in their undergrad and their GREs are average, that's not going to hurt them. That both of those people would most likely be invited to the interview, and then the interview would be a bigger determiner in that situation. Again, the GRE is more for an opportunity for someone who doesn't have a high GPA to potentially, kind of raise their application up. In rare cases, will the GRE, if someone's already done very well academically, will the GRE ever bring their application down for that interview invite?
Thanks. Is it okay to have already applied for 2025? Yes, right?
Yes.
They would be reviewed after the deadline though, correct?
To begin, well, everyone's going to be, for now, the deadline is December 15th for acceptance in the summer 2025 cohort.
But you don't review applications until after that deadline, correct?
Correct. We do not. Okay. Right. Correct. There's the deadline closes. We review all applications, and then that pile gets determined to who's going to be invited for an interview, and then the decisions come after the interview in January. So getting it in early is great, but it doesn't speed up the decision time frame.
We have another great question regarding deadlines. Would someone who is graduating this fall be able to apply for the general program, even though the semester technically ends after December 15th? Absolutely. And you would be also able to apply even if you aren't graduating until the spring semester. We would obviously need official transcripts once you complete your degree, but it's very common for students who are still completing their undergraduate degree to apply for the December 15th deadline. When accepted, regardless of the combined program or not, you have to start classes in the summer. That is another question.
Yeah, I mean, in general, if you want to graduate within that 18-month cycle, you would have to start in the summer. We have had occasion where someone who's decided to go on more of a part-time path has started in the fall, but I want to be crystal clear, if you start in the fall, it will be at least 36 months to earn the master's degree, because you wouldn't be able to, there's certain classes that are offered the first summer that you would have to wait until you take those before you can move on to other classes the following fall. So we've had a rare occurrence, or a couple of rare occurrences where people start the master's program in the fall, but they're coming in clearly on a kind of longer term part-time path to get the degree. If you want to graduate within an 18-month time frame, you have to start in the summer.
Although students in the combined program, could they start in the fall of their senior year rather than the summer of their senior year?
So the combined program and the master's program are completely different, meaning students that are in the combined program can start in the fall or spring of senior year.
Okay.
It's once you transition to that graduate, to the master's portion, that has to be the summer start. And even if you complete all 12 credits of undergrad, even if you complete all 12 master's level credits while still an undergrad, you are still going to be 18 months. It's just some of those credits are done and you still have to start in the summer, again, because of the sequencing of the course.
Thank you.
Sure.
We had someone ask, I'm missing the 3 statistics credits only. Could a person apply without this one class and take it in the spring? Yes, that happens. As long as you have all of the 15 credits of psychology prior to starting the program. Okay, so just going to talk a little bit about the application procedures. So transcripts are required. If you've previously attended UAlbany, you don't have to request your UAlbany transcripts. When we're looking at GPA, we're looking at all institutions and levels where you've taken college coursework. You can upload unofficial transcripts for your online application, and your application would be considered. But we do need official transcripts once you're accepted and enrolling. Like I mentioned, some students are still finishing up their undergraduate degree, so we would obviously wait for that. Transcripts can be mailed to the graduate school or emailed from the institution. There's great instructions on exactly where to send those transcripts right on our graduate admissions website. When you guys say someone has a good academic past, are you referring to applicants with an undergraduate GPA higher than 3.0? That's typically the GPA like minimum that we're looking for. I think where those GREs can come into play is if you are on the cusp of that, but I don't think that a GPA significantly below 3.0 could be considered for this program. And Dr. Gallo, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we don't think of it as a strict cutoff. What I can say is um, historically, if you have lower than a 3.0, the odds of getting in are very small. So, you know, if you have a lower than a 3.0 GPA, I think it would be smart to look at a variety of programs and not just hold out hope for ours. You know, because getting in with a less than 3.0 is a difficult task.
I also wanted to ask Dr. Gallo, because this is a question that I receive frequently. Is there a date or a time period by which GRE scores must be submitted? Should they be included by December 15th with the application?
No, the GRE scores can come after the application deadline. We would just want those by mid-January when we're have the interview and making the decisions on admissions.
Thank you. All right, so letters of recommendation for the program, they are submitted directly through the online application portal. You will enter contact information for your recommenders. They will receive an email. They will click a link and be able to submit their letter on your behalf, which will get uploaded right to your application. We recommend that letters of recommendation be specific to the program that you're applying to whenever possible. Letters of recommendation from professors can be very helpful to speak to your academic capabilities and potential for success in a graduate program. So we recommend that that you include letters of recommendation from faculty who have taught you in a classroom. Other letters can come from individuals who have observed you in a professional context. And then this last piece is just my personal recommendation. To give people who are writing your letters plenty of notice, right? So we know that there's a hard deadline of December 15th. Now is a great time to ask if you haven't already. I would typically recommend that you give a hard deadline to your the person who's writing your recommendation letter ahead of the due date. So maybe say, is it possible for you to submit my letter by December 1st? I hate for a student's application to be hung up because they're waiting on something that's out, so that someone else is working on or outside of their control. So that's just my own personal recommendation. Your statement of goals. For us, a statement of goals allows us to determine your fit for the program, what you can offer the program, and it's also a chance for us to evaluate writing skills. So we're, turn on your spell check. We're going to notice those things. And then for you, this is your chance to talk about yourself, to tell us why you are applying to this program, to highlight the background and the skills that you have that would make you not only a good student in this program, but a good future counselor. Let us know what you hope to get out of the program. What are your goals? What are your areas of interest within the field? We want to know all about you. It should be purposeful and to the point, typically 1 to 2 pages. We recommend students do their research on the program they're applying to. So what about our program draws you to it? There's many helpful online resources to help you write a statement of goals, and your previous institution or your current institution's career center also should have great guides or tips and might be able to help you with that as well. We have another question. How important is work experience compared to academic qualifications in the application process?
So work experience is not need. It's not like a guaranteed needed. Um, it's just another piece that we will look at. But if you are coming from undergrad, we don't expect you to have work experience. If you took some time off and are coming back to the program, work experience will be considered in kind of you as an applicant. So it's not needed, but certainly is something that we'll consider if you have it.
So where to find some more information? We have the program page, which is a great place to visit. I'm sure many of you, if you're interested in this program, have already visited the program page, but I'll open it up just so that you have eyes on it. This is the program page with information about the program itself, information about the program of study that I mentioned earlier, information about our combined program, and then information on the admission requirements, including under special notes, the necessary prerequisite psychology coursework, and our deadlines. So everything, a lot of the things that we talked about today are listed right here on the website. We also have up here the graduate bulletin, which further provides information on what is required to complete the program. So you'll see here that the courses are listed. Of course, these are just course numbers, but you can actually, sorry, I just want to show you that there's a little bit more on this page, but you can actually click up here under the graduate bulletin under schools and colleges and click on School of Education right here. And you can read about the courses that we offer. So we have under the Department of Educational and Counseling Psychology, the Division of Counseling Psychology. You can read a little bit about those courses and find out a little bit more about what you might be learning in our program. I have Dr. Gallo's email address here. I have the graduate admissions email address here. They are where to go with asking questions about admissions related topics. And then the PI Center, which is my office. Highly recommend that you start here with me. We are a really great place at filtering questions. We have the answers to most of them, and we know who to ask if we don't have the answer ourselves. We are PI Center at albany.edu. We're available to schedule Zoom appointments. We're happy to have conversations and chat a little bit more. These are our submitted questions. We do have about 20 minutes left, so we're going to try to move through these. And for the sake of being respectful of everyone's time, if it's something that I've already addressed in the presentation or in one of the other questions that was submitted through the chat, we will skip that question. So that first question, I think we've covered at length. The next question with regard to which fields need to be filled out on the online application. There are certain fields that don't need to be filled out, such as the assistantship fields. But if you have any specific questions about what needs to be filled out and what doesn't, you can always reach out to us or graduate admissions. There's a question about why the program is only starting during the summer. And I think we've sort of talked about that we're a cohort-based program and sort of talked about how the program is spaced out. We had a question about expired GRE scores. Dr. Gallo, can you answer a question about the ability?
Yeah, so we don't, if you've taken the GREs, we don't consider them expired. Meaning if you can provide a copy of them, even if they're old scores, we will accept those as the GRE scores that you submit. But we would need documentation. If you don't have any documentation or copy of the old scores, then you would need to retake. But if you can provide a copy of them, then that would be acceptable for us.
The next question about the GRE being required and how important it is in the process, we've talked about that.
Yep.
Online, hybrid, or in-person class time. So I think Dr. Gallo mentioned there are a few online courses offered during the summer, but many of the courses that you would take would be in person.
Yeah, we did with the first semester, the first summer, is primarily online. It allows for it started with the pandemic, but we've kept it for now because it makes for an easier transition for people. Many people will be kind of completing their undergrad, and then some people from out of state starting the master's program, a short time later. So we've stuck with the summer online courses, but in that first fall, you'll be required to be here in person and then for the rest of the way.
Thank you. We talked about career outlook and earnings. Another great question, does this program allow me to be licensed in states besides New York?
So it does. Our requirements meet most state requirements. There's not any that I'm currently aware of that we don't. But the important thing would be for the individual person. Obviously, our program is built around New York State's requirements. If you're thinking of going to other states, then you should check their licensing bodies and see what their requirements are. If they are different than what New York State's are, you can use your master's degree, even with us, to fulfill those requirements. Let's say there was a course that a different state required, which currently I'm not aware of any, but let's say there was one, legislation changed and a state wanted a specific course that we don't offer, you could use electives during your master's degree to make sure that course is done. So we are built around New York State and we are a licensed registered program in New York State, but most of our students don't have an issue getting licensed in other states as well.
Thanks. The next two, okay. The next two questions are about part-time study, which I think we've addressed. If there's something about these questions that we haven't addressed yet, please feel free to enter that in the chat, which I'll come back to after we've gone through each of these questions. Um, uh, oh, someone would like us to talk a little bit about preparing to apply for a PhD program after this program, which is another great question.
So one bonus or one plus for people that are interested in doctoral programs, our master's program is housed in the Division of Counseling Psychology, which has a counseling psychology PhD program. So for the master's degree, we do not require any research. There is not a research component or a thesis component. But if a student is motivated and wants to apply to PhD programs, they have the opportunity to work with our faculty on their research and get involved in research to kind of go build that PhD application. PhD applications require a lot of research typically. So again, it's not built into our master's program, but being in our master's program gives you some opportunity to work with faculty that would help you with the PhD applications once you hit that spot.
Somebody else asked if there are research opportunities if candidates are interested in working with the faculty. So
and that answer is yes. Even if you don't want to go to a PhD program, but want those research opportunities, all of our faculty are conducting research and active. So you absolutely can get involved in research.
Any tips for getting through the program debt-free? Do you have anything to
No, unfortunately, no. Working is one part is possible. As I mentioned before, if you have a job with flexibility in terms of scheduling, semester to semester, it's possible to work your way through the program. Alyssa, maybe you have some other, kind of more general.
Yeah, so there are like I said, I think graduate admissions and financial aid can be a little bit more helpful with this. There are students who have in the past pursued assistantship opportunities when they're flexible because those provide tuition benefits. There are I'll just, we are a state school, so we do our best as a university to keep tuition low and affordable. There are payment plans, there are ways to finance your education here at UAlbany, and like I said, I think financial aid can be really helpful in talking you through those options. Is there an accelerated track? So as I mentioned, this program is already pretty condensed and accelerated, so there's no way to go through it any faster than it already is. This is a great question. I love this question. What makes a successful applicant or application?
So a successful applicant is someone that meets the kind of academic background that we're looking for, receives good recommendations, writes a personal statement that tells us about them. Not just, I mean, most of the people going into the field obviously have interest in helping others, but let us know what it is about the field or about our program that really excites you or what makes you interested in this program. I think those are the pieces that come together, that with that, you would be invited to be interviewed and then be yourself. We are looking for students that fit our program, but we also want students to take a look at our program and our faculty and make sure this is a place they want to come for their master's degree as well. So, a successful application requires academic background, a strong academic background, well-written personal statement, good recommendations, and then the personal side of you coming out and do well in the interview.
Thank you. We already talked about like flexibility of time with completing the program. We had a specific question about coursework. Will there be any courses that focus on power and patience, attachment disorders, historical abuse cases, ethics and policy inhibition, and patient development? Dr. Gallo, can you speak to that?
Let me look that a little closer.
I don't know if I can zoom in. I
Patience.
can. Oh, is that, sorry.
Yep.
It's this question right here that can you see my mouse?
Yep. So ethics is most of those things that you're asking about are part of our coursework. There aren't necessarily specific courses on that, but our Intro to Mental Health Counseling course deals with ethics and, patience and abuse. And then attachment disorders will be discussed in both the behavioral disorder class and our theories course. So we don't have, there aren't, all of those topics, yes, will be addressed in the curriculum. I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
Thank you. What percentage of graduates pass the comp exam on their first attempt?
Now, if you mean comp exam within our master's program, that's a very high rate. I would say about 95%. And we do have a remediation path that if you don't pass it, so that 5% over the last 5 to 7 years that haven't passed it had an opportunity to do a remediation of the exam. And most people pass that as well.
Great. How are practicum or internship placements dealt with?
So in the first fall, you'll be in a class, if accepted, you'll be in our pre-practicum course in which you do role plays with other master's students. It's overseen by upper level doctoral students. Small courses, 5 to 6 people are in those labs. Depending on how your skill development is going, we place you at an agency, at a site locally that we think would be a good fit for you. We do take the kinds of populations you would like to work with into account, but we also want to make sure you're at an agency or a site that will fit for your development. And we place you at that agency. You don't have to find your own.
Thank you. Are there student organizations related to this program?
So we have a master student association. There's a master student rep that comes to the faculty meetings. So there is some student representation. There's also a New York Mental Health Counselor Association that we encourage our students to get involved in. So those would be a couple. And then there is I believe there's I'm trying to think of the name of it. Alyssa, there's a graduate student association on campus.
That's what it's called. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The GSA, Graduate Student Association. And that's across all graduate programs at the university.
So if you want to, you can get involved in those.
Mm-hmm. What skills does the program highlight for future counselors?
So we're a broad-based program. We think of it as a foundation in counseling and theory, and being able to consume research, not do research, but be able to read an article and understand what it's trying to tell you. But we do think of ourselves as more of a foundational program, meaning we're going to teach you about a lot of different interventions, a lot of different theories, and think you should have a grasp on a wide range and then take those into the future. We definitely focus on basic counseling skills. That starts in the pre-practicum role plays, and then we do a lot of evaluation and assessment of skill set, in conjunction with your site supervisor through your internship and practicum.
Sorry. What do you think makes this program unique compared to others?
I think the actually think the summer start is one thing that clearly makes us unique from a calendar perspective. But what it really does too is it allows you to go on an internship placement that starts in January, and then you stay at an agency through the full calendar year. So you'll be at an agency through the spring, summer, and fall. So you do a continuous year at an agency. So you really get to do some long-term therapeutic experience, which if we were more on an academic year-based thing, you would have that summer break. So you would, your internship training would be broken up a little bit more. So I think that's one of the biggest things. In addition, that we secure the sites for our students. Students do not have to go find their own sites.
Thanks. Can someone with a master's degree in pharmacognosy apply for this program? Um, Anybody can apply as long as they have the necessary psychology prerequisite coursework. So certainly, someone with that background can apply. We had a student ask about they're currently enrolled in a master's program, but considering withdrawing. Would a withdrawal from a master's program impact an application in any way?
No, no, as long as you're, if depending on how you do in the course, or excuse me, how you would have to submit all transcripts. But if, for personal reasons you didn't do well and that's why you were drawing, and then, the personal statement will give you an opportunity to express, or explain some of those kind of things. But in terms of withdrawing from one program and then applying, it wouldn't have a direct implication. We would look at your application, separately, uniquely. And then if you did get accepted and you have some master's program stuff completed, there's a chance you could get some transfer credits.
Thank you so much. And we have some additional questions in the chat that I'll go back to.
Sure.
Let's see. For second career applicants, do you look for or prefer to see work experience, paid or volunteer, in a related field prior to application?
No, no, we've had people come back from all different fields. We're going to look at you more from you as a student and a potential student, not necessarily what the first career was in.
We have a slightly more specific question. So we have someone whose GPA is a little bit less than the 3.0 and who had previously got a waiver from their previous school in Albany to bypass GRE and other fees because of a current ADA EEOC violation lawsuit. Would this impact the likelihood of acceptance?
So I see it as two different pieces to the same question. I'm not sure I understand the GRE part. As has been mentioned, right now we're requiring the GREs, and there are no waivers so the GRE would be required. I'm not sure how it relates to the lawsuit. Depending on other pieces, depending on how far below the 3.0, and then also depending on the other pieces of the application would play a role in likelihood or unlikelihood to be accepted. If it's a 2.5, 2.6, it would be really difficult. 2.8, 2.9, and some other things are really strong. It's still, there is still some possibility. So that's a hard one.
Dr. Gallo, is there a place where we can find statistics of the GRE scores of applicants and those who were admitted?
No, we don't post that. I would say shoot for 50th percentile and above. But again, even if you do a little bit below the 50 percentile, I would not say that that's automatically going to, say that you're not going to get into the program.
You can
shoot
find
for,
that
if you're studying and taking practice tests and things like that, I would I would be hoping or shooting for that 50th percentile or above.
I just entered the ets.org. That's the website where you can find information on the GRE, including average scores.
Oh,
Um,
cool. You know that was there.
so, and I believe they actually have average scores broken down by career path.
Got
So
it.
that might even give you a slightly better idea. Can we rank our interests or place for placements that we prefer for internships?
So there's no ranking, but we will ask you for what kind of populations you want to work with. So if, we wouldn't, if you, for example, if you don't want to work with children, we wouldn't place you at a agency to work with children, things like that. So we do take your preferences into consideration. It's not a ranking of the internship sites, it's more of a preference piece.
Um, the student who had a question earlier about the GRE being waived, said that UAlbany staff had told them that it was not required. But I don't believe there may have been some confusion,
Yeah.
because it might have been for a different program, perhaps.
Correct. That's the only thing. Yeah, if you go right to our application requirements on the grad bulletin and the website, it's clear that, GREs are still required for us.
When should we take the GRE?
As long as we receive those scores by mid-January, anytime before then is fine.
And you can list UAlbany as a place who directly receives those scores. And I think that's a quick way to make sure that they get to us quicker, as part of your application. Had so many good questions. Um, does oh, we have another one. You mentioned that family counseling is possible as a future career path. Does this program include marriage or family counseling? Sorry, the question, coursework.
Yes, we have a family systems course. It's not a required course, it's an elective course, but it's offered every year, so that would be a good course for you to take.
Um, if applying for the combined program by November 1st, due to limited availability, would I still be able to take classes in the spring of this year if accepted, if there are spaces available?
If there's spaces available, the only other option would be if you can find classes that could count as electives would be the only other way to take master's classes. There will probably not be any space in our required courses. But that's a lot of ifs and buts. So yes, it's still possible. If there's space available, yes, it would be the answer.
If you retake the GRE and send both scores, do you only look at the higher score?
Yes, the higher scores.
Great. Can we take the GRE more than once if we aren't happy with the first score, as long as the grades are in by January?
Yes.
Um, Someone wanted to know if they could email you specifically, Dr. Gallo, about the GRE requirements.
Yes. Yep.
And I can enter, is it all right if I put your email in the chat, Dr. Gallo?
Yep.
Um, any other questions? Since the grades need to be in by January, how long does it take for GRE scores to come in?
I believe they give you an immediate unofficial score. And then I think it takes a couple weeks for them to submit them. So I would give it a couple weeks. I would plan for a couple weeks.
I would check the ETS website to see if they have a better estimate of when they get their scores out. If we have one or two final questions, we can take those, but it's past 12 o'clock. So I just totally understand if anybody has to leave. No worries about that. Is it
Doesn't
better?
matter. I saw that one quick about the 50. As long as they're in by January, the mid-January, so we can look them in. It doesn't matter when they come in.
If I got a fairly low score on the GRE, but I got a fairly low score in one section of the GRE, but exceptional in the others, should I aim to retake it?
Not necessarily. I would say think of it as yeah, not necessarily. No, if you think you did okay, if you did great on one, um, it can definitely offset the other a little bit. So again, just because I know the jury becomes a big one for people, it is not a cutoff. It's more about I would be more, if I was you, if you're still in school, I'd be more worried about my grades than the GRE. I guess that's another way to put it. Like it's not the be all end all for us. They are still a requirement. It is a piece of information we look at, but I would say, focusing on making sure you're connecting with good recommenders and getting good letters of recommendation in, getting, doing as well as you can in this last semester before applications of your grades, things like that are the stuff I would be writing a really well personal statement. Have people look it over for you, go to your writing center, typos or incomplete sentences in a personal statement would be way more detrimental than a GRE score. So those are the other things that you can make sure you're focusing on. And I'm sure the GRE is stressful. I know it is for everybody, but I promise you, just do the best you can and get the scores in and put focus in those other areas as well.
Thank you, Dr. Gallo.
Sure.
Um, for the sake of time, we'll end it here, but we're available. I'm going to put the Pi Center email in the chat as well. Like I said, a really, really great place to start. Um, I appreciate all of you taking time out of your day to learn more about this program. And I hope that this session was helpful for you, and that you learned something and got your questions answered. We hope to see some of you come through as applicants and hopefully even as students in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Gallo, for all of your answers to our
Sure.
questions.
Bye.
Thank you.